Alright, now we're up to Seregost, and we're gonna be immediately introduced to one of our potential new recruits. These Mad Max edgelord.
Everyone's talking about
Voiced by Nurnen with a very thick accent that I cannot identify.
and that number's
I think this is the first time.
I think he's doing the same thing that he was doing for the Penguin in the Batman Arkham games.
See, I provide solutions. In this case, potential.
I think this is the first time I've ever seen an orc with a full-on helmet that obscures
Again,
the face.
very
like
unique
that.
designs. Essentially, the fixer tells you that you can recruit two potential orcs, a pair of twins with a keen for explosives. If you manage to do that and fulfill a couple of missions afterwards, the fixer himself will also join you. But one thing at a time. First, we need to get this duo.
I'm told they're rather excitable.
We will see soon enough. Oh, sorry, I don't have time for you.
You're giving me a good laugh.
Take your vaulting and shove it up your ass.
Basically. Oh, he's also immune to light. Yeah, I definitely don't have much time.
How do you become immune to light? Do you just wear a lot of sunblock?
I get. Maybe you could.
Sunblock out in the middle of the winter area.
Maybe just migrate.
Maybe you just need to have a keyblade. Because Sora seemed immune to it.
If I remember correctly, 358 over 2 days has an entire system about elemental weakness, resistances, and light is also including that.
What?
Yeah, with the grid system and all that.
Well, not just for rocks, as I'm talking about the enemies.
You're wrong,
So there
Teo.
are
Sorry.
certain
Sorry.
Go on.
You're wrong, Teo. Middle Earth is light!
Of course. Alright, so in order we need to attract these two, and since they love explosive, we need to detonate a bunch of explosive barrels.
These two have a love for all that is loud and explosive. Use this knowledge to draw them out, then secure.
Insert your own joke about musicians that you don't like, I guess.
Secure their loyalty. What are you going to tell them? Your boss talks about you behind your back.
No, essentially because we make a lot of explosions, they will respect us because of that, you'll see.
Tinder, did you hear that? It was booze. Glorious booze. Who did this? Come on. Let's make things go boom together.
This music.
Yeah, I'm not a
Boom,
particular
glorious,
fan of these
boom.
two.
Yeah. Is this going to be the new song?
The blade
Boom,
of
glorious,
You make some
boom,
booze.
hard,
Work together.
pinky, and
In fact, we could use your skills.
The Lady of Booms. Oh, wait, somebody's stealing Megaman's job there.
There will be booze.
How could I say no to such an enthusiastic invitation?
See, I get what they were trying to do, but like you said, this kind of humorous tone just feels a bit too different.
This feels more like this was more like The Hobbit than Lord of the Rings. Remind me, Teo, isn't this specific game supposed to be taking place in the Jackson verse or is the Tolkien books?
The Jackson verse.
Okay, so
Remember, it's still in the time between the Hobbit and the Ring, so you can argue it's a transitional period, but still, this kind of particular humor of these two really feels out of place.
I'm fine with it, but I can definitely get how it might rub some people the wrong way.
yeah, because one thing that sorry, go on.
There's already a bit of a physical, bit about them having each of them an amp, half of them being pulverized probably by an explosion accident, and the fact that they're twins, and trust me, we're actually going somewhere with this. Just to mention, your mission here is to actually get better boobs than them. Yes, really.
That sounds like something you'd see in a compile hard game.
Hello and welcome to our explosion competition.
But see, because one of the things that went throughout the few times was I wasn't horribly distracted by the horrible frame rate. One thing that was kind of weird to me when I watched The Hobbit was how there was so much body humor with the orcs and
just to reiterate,
and the dwarves. Sorry, not the orcs, the dwarves. Sorry.
The dwarves,
Sorry.
Bomb, yes. in itself, the Hobbit is supposed to actually be more lighthearted, you know, because
Sure, it's for the kids,
supposed
right?
to be, no, not just that. It's also supposed to be set in a more peaceful time. There are still potential problems, so but otherwise it's more about good and on track with them. It's supposed to be more about the journey.
It's kind of meant to be what 10-2 was to 10, kind
The
of.
problem.
Also,
Go on,
what are you talking about? There's plenty of human we could get out of the orcs' bodies. How terribly CGI they were.
True, but
Well, the CGI is a thing. I don't really think it was the worst. Anyway, to mention, I honestly believe that the excessive humor was mostly potentially part of Gold's executive mandate that was imposed onto Jackson, because if you see, okay, I cannot tell you for just Unexpected Journey because it's not super present there, but I can tell you that for the other two movies, they do retain a lot of the serious themes of the Lord of the Rings, and I can't believe it those were Jackson's ideas. Anyway, the point is that you managed to convince these two with enough rules, and so they will help you occasionally too.
because I'm playing through the Lord of the Rings Gollum right now, and that game, unlike this one, is the Tolkien verse rather than the Jackson verse.
Yeah, the thing of
one of the older Mandalore Gaming's videos review is about an RTS that is strictly more based on the book version of Lord of the Rings rather than the movies, because the developer specifically wanted to try it, and yet it still tries to do its own spinning of things, which does include the dwarves operating an orc genocide machine that is building a giant ballista. Not even kidding. Holy shit.
Well, Teo, it's like I told you before. If only all the orcs were nice, then they wouldn't have to be exterminated.
War crimes for the win, kids.
That's what I'm gonna show you next. I'm gonna show you the rest of Kimba the White Lion. Just for shit's sake. Go on.
Anyway, Eltharier is reasoning that Seregost cannot be recaptured, so she believes that the Fixer can help her in actually instead destroying the fortress. Yes, because everyone apparently was so sick of Seregost that even the devs decided, you know what, let's destroy it.
One word. Barrels.
You're correct.
Oh, yeah,
That
Donkey
is one
Kong.
word.
They're all over the place. Normally, you poison a barrel, it's good for a couple dead orcs. But use this
DK.
And he accidentally dropped it.
fire
That would have been funny.
Lousy globs don't even need to drink it. Then again,
Yeah, that's all
there's
they
one
get.
glob in there who owes me a favor. I've got to get him out, or I'll catch up with you later.
I need to save that one guy. He owes me money.
Basically, literally. I think, or at least a favor.
Where's my fucking money? What's his name again?
I don't remember. Anyway,
No, not. Well, I was trying to equate it to the character in this game, though. Go on, too.
what you need to do is to poison every single barrel of the fortress, which will literally, again, also the marksman, the sniper also here to help you for this.
Word of advice. You might want to back away from the poisonous green fog. Once you get the rest of the barrels poisoned, all the orcs in here will have to flee. Or die.
Sounds like you have everything planned out.
Except for that glob I need to rescue. He's too well guarded. Could use a hand getting him out of here. If you're inclined.
Sure, essentially, satisfy also this other requirement, and you'll be a close step closer to actually have the Fixer join you as well. But yeah, also, gotta love the logic of Eltharier. Dominating these orcs is going too far. Proceeds to commit war crimes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like I said in a previous part. Oh, I would never dominate orcs. Sauron, on the other hand, oh, by all means, sign me up, Celebrimbor.
Seriously, but essentially what we're doing is literal chemical warfare that exterminates the entirety of the fortress, as you will say.
I guess hypocrisy is a trait becoming
orcs are evil.
I get the feel. Okay. I mean, if it wasn't for this, like, if you just made the tone more over the top, this could easily pass for a 1960s anime interpretation of Middle-earth. Because we already have the protagonist killing people left and right with zero morality aspects to it, and treating it like with all the weight of, and treating it with all the weight of going to the to the grocery store. So I mean, the game takes all seriously, but when you get right onto it, this is basically the equivalent of Speed Racer taking a Tommy gun and killing 100 people.
Wait. I think one of my favorite bits is Speed. You have to let him win, otherwise, insert family are in trouble or whatnot. And Speed just proceeds to step on the gas just to make sure he wins.
That's the thing, Jova. I'm still convinced that Speed Racer is actually a raging murderous psychopath, and yet for whatever reason we live in a world where nobody notices this.
Well, you see, the reason is because there are people even more evil and murderous than him, to the point where he's the hero by comparison.
Brilliant.
He even wiped out a whole nation's government.
He had to win the race.
It's
funny.
It's the same kind of thing that Osamu Tezuka did with his original 1960s animes. So go on.
Well, remember, Kimbap apparently was even restrained compared to what the manga did.
Yeah.
But just to mention also, because if you don't remember, Speed Racer is a property of Tatsunoko Productions, and we had a pretty extensive kind of range of IPs, like Yatterman, for example. But one that I do argue actually does have a proper clean-cut morality without being too bullshit is actually. Oh god, what is pronounced in English? I think it's Kassern or something. I'm mostly telling that because in my country we use the original Japanese name Kyashan, which is essentially this guy who is basically a cyborg version of a ninja with a robot dog companion, and essentially we need to fight in this dystopic world. Robots and stuff. It's actually pretty cool, but again, compared to fucking Speed Racer, that one is more clear in terms of different kind of morality. It's actually pretty cool. Same thing or stuff like Tekkaman, for example.
Yes, it's because you can tell that the people who made the Speed Racer. I mean, I don't know how the manga is, for the record. But knowing Japan at the time, the manga's probably even more insane. It's because back in the 1960s, a lot of these manga and animes were like the writers wrote with zero thought into how morally this will come across. They just made, it's gonna be fun to have Speed Racer pick up a fucking Tommy gun and kill a bajillion people. Why? Because it's cool. That's as far as they thought it through.
I argue it was a sentiment shared by the entire world. Don't forget that this was also the time of the Silver Age of comics, in which in one issue Superman could literally juggle planets like we're fucking bowling balls, and in the next Batman would encounter an alternate self on a planet called Zurendal.
Look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Silver Age was arguably where every DC hero was at their most powerful in some way, shape, or form.
But okay, aside from Aquaman, Aquaman actually got better over time.
Yeah, okay, except Aquaman. But seriously though, Silver Age, Batman could probably have solved world hunger for fun. Superman could literally juggle planets at that time. The Flash could have beaten any JoJo character Silver Age style. It's hard to think of any character who really wasn't at the top of their game in the Silver Age.
That's why I was making. Sorry, go on.
Let's deal with the Overlord.
What the bloody stroke is going on out here?
Holy cow, the music suddenly sounds like it had a seizure.
You, she-elf? Oh, I hope you had fun, because now I'm gonna tear you apart!
Ooh, I'm so scared.
Thankfully, the fixer is gonna actually help us in this fight.
I love the way he was shouting. Hey, not the way he was shouting, but that dialogue made it sound like he was just some angry mom coming out into the middle of her living room with all her rowdy kids going around and her saying, "What is going on here?"
Disgusting. Go on, Pedro.
It's like, no, that's the thing. Okay, I will say that at least in this. Okay, maybe no. Actually, now that I'm thinking a bit harder about it, no, never mind. But the thing is, it was that's why a lot of that's why I was making a joke earlier about the whole if only the orcs were nice, because a lot of this time with how we're killing so many fucking orcs in this game, it kind of comes across like that sometimes. Again, I can totally see someone taking the cutscenes from this game and dubbing them over the same lines, but with Speed Racer sped up type lines, where you know, kind of like what that Dexter's Laboratory episode did when it parodied Speed Racer, right? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, but what about that? He's never let me into the race. But now I'm about to enter the soapbox story. No, to explain would be that the always when is related to like and sorry, go on. Cutscene.
Yeah, because now it's time to finally destroy this place. Again, the fans were not particularly fond of this location, so the developers listened.
Eh.
So yeah,
Congratulations.
we defeated the war. We
Whoa!
defeated war
Oh,
crimes.
oh, never mind.
And
Suddenly
skip the
there
next
was
day.
light.
So without an army.
Never mind. For a minute there, it looked like the graphics weren't rendering.
No, it was just keep. Alright, this instead happens when you actually reach the region of Nurnen. This guy shows up.
My lady, I have searched every corner of Mordor.
What
for
LARP
you.
session did you
Ever
come
since
out
I
of?
first heard the stories of an elf that burned with the brightness of a sun. I never imagined you would be so enchanting.
You?
Oh.
Yeah.
I hereby renounce the dominion of the Dark Lord, the Bright Lord, whatever that cursed eye atop Barad-dûr is. I pledge myself here and now to you.
This is the story of an orc and an elf, and how love was
There you
able
go.
to find a
Crimp,
way.
Crimp essentially is gonna be your only bodyguard for this. Again, to sum up with a high-end Daisy joke, you know what else thinks about murders? This creepy but otherwise harmless stalker. Case closed.
Time to take on another fortress.
Essentially, this
This is
guy
why
has
you're
this
here.
kind of devotion towards Eltharier, but despite, you know, again, being a bit awkward, he's a nice guy, so...
Nice guy in a good way, or...
To be fair,
you
no,
know?
don't worry. Again, he works perfectly fine as a bodyguard and never oversteps, so at the very
Okay,
least, he's
okay.
genuine that front.
So
Now
he
it's-
is legit a
now-
gentleman. Good for you.
Now it's time to actually finish the mission to
Let's
recruit the
go in
fixer.
quietly, though. One of his war chiefs, the ambitious...
You know,
has
again,
achieved
it's a
the
nice
secret
trade-off.
entry
While
from
we
the roof
don't
of
get to have the
We should
recruitment
take
system,
care of him
we arguably
first.
do get more unique
Very well.
orcs with their
Mhm.
own sort of storylines to it.
Alright, your goal for this is to kill one war chief which possesses the key to enter the fortress and then enter stealthily. But while you're at it, you will need to commit, you know, a bit extra sabotage for it. But one thing at a time.
You know, I'll say this. If there's one thing I wouldn't mind if we ever got a remake of the Lord of the Rings trilogy is to, again, shine a spotlight on some of the orcs that weren't complete dicks. Because, you know, I'll say this, if these games have shown anything, there is a lot of potential at seeing the nuance and characters of some of the orcs who prior were mainly just, of course, you know, the cannon fodder goons to go through.
Well, even in the Hobbit, they kind of have that, and if anything, they even accentuated a bit more. The closest we got, oh, right, since I helped the architect, he shows up here too.
I could build one that is 10 times greater in half the
Okay,
I'm an
then,
architect!
Basically, I do architect things. Forgot what I was mentioning. Yeah.
You were mentioning about,
Right, the Hobbit. If anything, the movies double down, even if the books were not as prominent. Oh, you
You're
okay?
either brave or stupid for coming here without an army at your back. And soon, you'll be dead.
Okay, Thunderhead.
there's anyone who's ever known to be wait, Thunderhead?
Yes.
But hey, it's not like, you know, we've ever known anyone who's been able to take out scores of enemies all on their own. Oh, wait.
Okay, honestly, you mentioned Thunderhead, I'm reminded of that bit in The Incredibles. I'm honestly surprised that there hasn't been an example of anyone from Assassin's Creed or any other series that's famous for people wearing outfits like our main character has right now, where their long flowing and the long flowing cloaks at the back don't end up being responsible for their death.
I was instead thinking about the nickname Cloud was given in FF7 Machina Bridged.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
What would,
too.
yeah, what would be on Cloud's person that could end up getting him killed?
The
Stress.
Buster Sword. I would like to remind you
The
that
stress.
the first remake pointed rightfully out that Cloud's combat style doesn't work in cramped spaces because it cannot unsheath the Buster Sword properly.
Yeah, I told you that sword was too bloody big. Also,
Insert your quote from Berserk here.
yeah. Also, yeah, Jova, imagine that. After all that fighting, after all the stuff he's been through against Sephiroth and all the other stuff in the compilation, the thing that does Cloud in at the end of all that is a heart attack.
I mean, when you get down to it, isn't that kind of what sort of happens to him after Disc 2, in a sense?
Well, okay, I was instead believing you were going to mention Advent Children because that's what's happening in there.
Oh God, yeah,
Like the
Advent Children.
Geostigma is slowly dying. So,
Although, to be fair, a heart attack...
Died of a heart attack.
I can't believe Cloud died of Geostigma.
I can't believe Cloud died of suddenly a random mook shooting him after his epic fight with Sephiroth. But yeah, no, I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't compare that so much to a heart attack because heart attacks tend to be more sudden, whereas Geostigma I liken more to like
Cancer
when you get down to it.
You get space cancer.
But it's okay. Eris Gamer Fuel Water can cure you.
Yeah, you can make that up.
You know, honestly, I know we were talking about remakes or something. Do you think if they redo Advent Children, do you think they'll do
isn't Ever Crisis going to do that?
Ever Crisis is gonna retell allegedly is gonna retell the story of Adventures, so we'll have to see how they properly do that.
But that being said, one thing we know about the remake project is the remake project is going to tackle a lot of avenues, they've already gone to Crisis Core. Do you think maybe if we do get to the events of Advent Children in the context of the remake, since we know it's essentially Sephiroth's time-traveling venture to set things right, do you think they would
I get the idea if that's the case, though. We kind of blew out things out with the ending of remakes. Those three spirits are basically Kadaj, Lods, and Yazoo.
Yeah.
I get the idea it's a case of we change fate, so the events of other children will never happen.
Okay, but let's speak hypothetically if they were. Do you think they would redo it as a movie, or this time as a game that can...
Again, I get the idea we want to still be pretty conclusive and reach what the end of the first game was, and the elements of the compilation are just between, similar to how Deep Ground showed up earlier.
Well, that's why I'm asking if they do end up doing that, because nothing is certain or set in stone. Do you think it would be as a movie remake, or as this time a game where they can properly flesh out the plot and arguably give Advent Children more meat?
Yeah, I can only see it that way.
Yeah, I can see that being the case, because when you get down to it...
One thing that Advent Children sadly does is having a serious lack of variety in terms of fight. It's mostly just Kadaj and his merry band, and the monsters that are presented are very generic, including the international Bahamut scene.
And honestly, when you get down to it, despite how long Advent Children is, you can sum it up painfully shortly. Cloud is mopey until Marlene tells him to cheer up. He gets the band back together, has to beat Sephiroth's 3 kids, and essentially sends Sephiroth back to the Shadow Realm after getting healed by Eris Gamer Fuel Water.
Not to mention the new character Denzel. The only way you can properly understand what his deal is if you watch a different animated piece that is separate from it. Fortunately, it's included with the Advent Children Complete Blu-ray. So if you're getting the movie now, you just look for the Blu-ray, you'll get it. But you have to understand that back in 2005, that wasn't the case.
Tio, is Ever Crisis also going to pay minor dirge service? Because one thing a lot of people
of the compilation, yes.
Because one big speculation is that the after end credits scene of Dirge Cerberus, where Genesis is
unfortunately, Square made it pretty clear they did not want to re-release that game anytime soon. So I don't know, honestly.
It's weird because arguably, and again, there hasn't been anything to contradict this, but supposedly the reason Sephiroth's back doing this is because of what Genesis was planning at the end
And
of
they
Dirge
bother to
Cerberus.
showcase the brown members, you know, in the DLC or remake.
Yeah, so it's abundantly clear that unlike with Crisis Core, they're not particularly interested in going out of their way to introduce
I wouldn't even
deep ground to
mind it as a
newcomers.
Standard, I don't think it was in a standard re-release on the, for a PS2 Classic or something.
No, I would definitely like that. I think it's just one of those cases where, because it's so different from what we see in remake, they don't want to do that. Because because in order to quote unquote remakeify Dirge of Cerberus, it would take actual money and effort that they're not willing to put in for that one. Because like I said, I get the feeling Crisis Core Reunion was made more out of obligation than anything. Because oh shit, we didn't properly introduce Zack. How do we do that? Do we actually adapt the Crisis Core storyline into remake? No, that's too much work. So fuck it, let's just remaster Crisis Core and try to make it as much like remake as we can.
I could see them
Boys, we do know thanks to interviews, it wasn't for contractual reasons with Gant. He actually came out and pretty chilly said that under all this time he was perfectly fine, in keeping his voice, and we just didn't call him. So his relationship with Nomura is still going pretty strong. That's interesting,
I will say this. I won't be surprised if we see Genesis revealed as a collaborator, or I don't want to say they'd make him the big bad, because I think they've learned from Crisis Core. Like, okay, yeah, Crisis Core still has to stay as this, so technically it's the start of it, but I don't think they would go...
Okay, I'll mention after this cutscene, because now it's time to reap our rewards after we help the...
He's been decaffeinated.
Yes, this is not Killer Bean waves.
I was referencing that, actually.
I feel good. Nothing like evening the score to set you straight. Now to find a new glob to hate.
He runs on hate.
Rhyming.
Funny.
You're clever.
Alright, just to mention quickly, in the next part we'll actually travel through the different regions of the world in order to actually, do some of the side stuff. But just to mention quickly, Jova, see, here's the thing. The Crisis Core did introduce also the retcon about the presence of Minerva. So if they want to pay homage also to that, that's gonna cause quite a bit of head scratching.
Oh boy.
But anyway, tune in for the next part, everyone. See ya.
See ya.
See ya.